Springbok Uncapped 15 in 2022, folks. Can we make a competitive 15 of uncapped Springbok players in the year 2022? Let's give it a crack. The Springbok alignment camps are at least being planned or formulated right now. There's a bit of talk about that in the South African media about kind of who's in and who's out, and it's really hard to get into that Springboks 23 right now based on the depth chart we've looked at from last year. It's not been an easy one for like rotation. There's a set core of players, and most of them are pretty bloody good, so it's kind of hard to take the place of one of those guys, but we'll give it a crack with uncapped players today. I should note, I haven't watched enough South African rugby in recent time, guys, with the departure of the South African teams to the URC. I've been trying to catch up in recent times now that I got my broadcast arrangements sorted, but I'm certainly a bit behind, so do forgive me if there's a few howlers here. Do let me know who you would have had instead if I pick some players who might be a wee bit ridiculous. But remember, whoever you're picking, they have to be uncapped, and there's a bunch of guys out there in various competitions around the world who've got like one cap, who otherwise would be phenomenal guys for this team. Loose head, I was pretty stuck, because you've already got Kitsoff, who I rank as probably the best loose head in the world. You got Ox, who ain't far behind, and then you've got Trevor, who can fill in. So who's realistically get in? I basically just went with a guy who I've seen playing, who seems pretty solid, if not spectacular, and that's Gerhard Steenkamp for the Bulls, Like, he's not doing anything phenomenally well, but he seems pretty solid. I had a look at his URC stats. He gets through a few tackles. He doesn't concede a heck of a lot of penalties. The Bulls forward pack seems to be pretty tidy. He's a part of that. So if there's someone obvious I'm missing, please do let me know. But as I said, the pecking order, I think Thomas du Toit's even flirted with loosehead for a while, right? I know he's mostly playing tight head, but yeah, there's certainly a lot of props in South Africa. I'm not sure anyone's cracking through that current crop of guys, but there's an uncapped one for you. Now, hooker is also an interesting one because in prep for this, I also had a look at some of the guys who've been called up for South Africa before, but never managed to get a crack. And the Sharks player, Fez Mbatha, is one of those guys. So he seems to be the next cab off the rank, but correct me if I'm wrong, he's not been getting a lot of URC time at the moment. He's mainly playing for the Sharks Curry Cup side. But the Sharks Curry Cup side's stacked full of guys. Like Pinkclair's been playing, Jeremy Ward's been playing for the Curry Cup side. Like, they've got a bunch of guys who I would have thought are normal URC players are playing in the Curry Cup. If I was looking at a URC guy, it'd probably be Krobela from the Bulls, because statistically, you guys know I love my stats. He seems to have pretty good numbers. But in terms of the pecking order that we've seen previously from the current Springboks management, Mbatha seems to be the guy. And his numbers are alright. We just haven't seen him play that many games, and it's harder to get Curry Cup stats than it is to get URC stats. And tight head, I've gone with a big lump of a man in Kalu Sadi. He's like 130 kilos. He's a unit. He's probably not going to play much more than 40 minutes. I haven't actually checked how many minutes he usually plays for the Lions, but he's a big scrummaging unit. His carrying stats are not that flash. His defensive stats are like okay without being phenomenal. He concedes not that many penalties, but for a guy who plays a lot of games, he does concede some. But yeah, he's a big lump of man. I've liked him since the Lions were back in Super Rugby, and I used to see him scrummaging the house down. He just seems like a big prop. And South Africans tend to like big lumps of men. So yeah, I reckon he could potentially do a job if he was trained by the powers that be. So there you go. There's your front row. 24-year-old Sadi could certainly do a job. And Mbatha's only like 22. I think Steenkamp's like 24, 25. I mean, Dweba is the next hooker off the rank, to be fair, but he's only got one cap, so ineligible for this team. Right, I should say, I think there's the other Bulls guy, Matanzima, right? He's also maybe another candidate. He gives away more penalties than Sadi, but his work around the park seems to be a lot more flash, so kind of pick whichever one you like. Locks. One lock I have picked is one that I haven't seen play. It's purely on reputation. I haven't seen play for a long time. But I do rate old J.D. Schickerling. He doesn't seem to be in the picture. But I've always rated that guy. His stats have always been great. He's a big unit. He's 2+ meters tall. You know, South African locks tend to be massive, and he's another one of those. I haven't seen him playing since he's been in Japan. I haven't found the Japanese stats, but, you know, back when he was playing in South Africa, good carrying rate for a lock, you know, gets over the advantage line more than most guys. You know, those guys are so big, they often struggle to get low enough to get good carries, but he's got good carrying rate. He's got good defensive stats. He's good in the air. I don't see why he doesn't get closer to a call-up, other than that the Springboks locks are already so stacked with Diacher and Snyman, and, you know, the list just goes on. So, yeah, Schickerling for mine. And alongside him, I've gone with a Bulls guy in Ron Nokia. He's been having a cracking season. He's been doing really well. He's also like 2 meters tall. I mean, Schickerling's 26, Nokia's 23. They're both 2 meters plus. Nokia's got the most tackles of any South African player in the URC. He is the second guy for line-out steals. He's had loads of carries. He just seems to be a big part of everything they're doing. I know Salman Murat has also been in the conversation before, but I think he's been injured for ages, so I haven't seen him play for a long time. I'm not sure how he's been going, but maybe another potential candidate. But yeah, there is a type 5 of uncapped players for the Springboks. What do you guys reckon? Lucy's, there's literally loads of choices. You could pick probably 3 different combinations, and that would all be really good. But I've had to narrow it down to these 3. I've gone number 6 from the Sharks. Pepsi Buthelezi. He's been in cracking form. He got man of the match in the last game I saw him, which may have influenced my decision. But he seems to be doing really well. He's only 22 years old. He's the second top tackler for the Sharks. He's up there in the competition. He's the second South African forward in the URC for getting run meters. Like, he just seems to be a bit of an everywhere man right now. So that's very pleasing. At only 22, he's nowhere near his ceiling yet. I mean, there's other guys. There's Ackerman over in the Premiership. There's Daimani as well. He's been very dynamic. So there's loads of Lucy's. I don't want to list them all, man, because you'd be here for days. But Buthelesi's one. The next guy, assuming he's got his passport sorted. I know at the start of the year, Vincent Chituka was applying for a South African passport. Assuming his passport is sorted and he is now eligible, Vincent Chituka, man, he's been really impressive. Talk about work rate. That's your guy. He's only 23 years old. He's the 4th player from South Africa for tackles in the URC. He's gotten a bunch of turnovers. He's another one of those kind of everywhere mans, and he's quick enough that he always manages to be there for the link-up plays as well. So Vincent Chituka, I think, would be a welcome addition. And then number 8, there's so many guys, but I've ended up going with Stormers man and Ivan Rus. He's doing really well. He's maybe my first choice, but remember, I'm a stats guy, and I love his stats. They're just absolutely beautiful. 22 years old. The most successful carries in the URC. They've got 2 stats in the URC, successful carries and carries. I'm assuming successful carries means you got over the advantage line. So either way, he's number 1. They didn't elaborate on what that means. He's the top forward in the URC for defenders beaten. He's 5th for turnovers won. He's the second South African for turnovers won, I think, behind only Dion Fourie. You can chuck him in the lineup if you want as well, although he's probably at the wrong end of the age scale. I've tried to go with kind of guys in their early 20s who may be potential ones for the future, but Evan Roos, and it's so hard. You got Vermeulen to get past, you got Visa to get past. There's just so many current Springbok guys in the pecking order that Roos is still down there. But in terms of an uncapped team, he is a very, very easy pick. So that's your forwards. Backs wise, it's interesting. Number 9. Grant Williams is another guy who has been in the Springboks framework previously. So has Nohamba, but I haven't seen Nohamba play for ages. At least Williams is on the bench for the Sharks behind Hendrickse, who's, again, is he 1 or 2 caps now? So 9, you guys are starting to look a lot more I don't know, full of depth. Like it used to just be Faf, and if it wasn't Faf, there was a big drop off to everyone else. But there's been experiments with a few different guys. Papia's had some caps. What's the little guy? Yankees. Herschel Yankees, the little guy. He's at number 9, Mark. Herschel Yankees. His form's been a bit hot and cold. But, the Sharks seem to have loads of 9s. Hendrickser, Williams, Nohambo, as again, who I haven't seen playing for a while. But Grant Williams seems to be maybe the next cab off the rank based on what we've seen Springboks management choose in the past. He's 25 years old. And to be fair, despite kind of limited game time, I mean, his stats are all really nice as well. Really good attacking stats especially. So, he seems to be a pretty promising one. I mean, Van den Berg from the Lions has also been electric on a team which is not quite doing as well. So, there seems to be more options at 9, but you need to get these guys in the mix, I guess. Number 10, if I'd chosen this a year ago, I would have laughed at myself. But at least for this current season, Marnie Libok is on absolute fire. Now, would Marnie Libok fit with the Springboks game plan? He's probably not that guy. I could see him playing for like a Japan. You know what I mean? Like just in terms of his style. Is he going to play for the Springboks? He maybe is not a good fit. But I can't deny him, man. He's like the URC's leading points scorer. He's got like clean breaks and all kinds of, just really good stuff. And he's getting a decent run for a change. He always seemed to be a bit of a bit part player, a bit inconsistent, but he's really come into his own seemingly this year in the URC. So that's really pleasing to see for him. You've got a bunch of other guys. I mean, Border Chamberlain maybe would be a better fit. Chris Smith. There's other guys as well. Hendrickser at the Lions. These guys are all doing pretty well. So there's reasons to be optimistic at 10 as well. It's not just all about 100 Pollard. But again, how do these guys get in? Elton Yankee still seems to be the preferred second choice guy, but we will have to wait and see. So there you go. That's your 10. Midfield's kind of hard. One guy I thought was pretty easy. I'll chuck him on first. Similani just seems to be, again, proper excitement machine stuff. And it's not just the attacking numbers as well, because I love my stats. He's good at clean breaks, good at offloads, got at carries, run meters, only 24 years old, very quick, adds an absolute bit of spark to any team that he's playing for. But his tackling percentage is 85, so it's not like he's all flash, flair and no grunt work. So, sure, he's not the finished product at 24 years old, but there's certainly a lot of potential. But I still see him as more of a attacking player. So I've kind of balanced that with, and it was hard. I didn't really know who to pick at 12. I've gone with Harold Forster from the Bulls. Now, he's probably too old. 28 years old. Are you really going to chuck a 28-year-old in? He's already going to be behind the likes of Jesse Creel and Damien Delende and Lucanio Arm and whatnot in that midfield. Probably not. But, I mean, he's one of the top tacklers in the midfield in the URC. That's without a doubt. His attacking numbers are fine as well. His penalties conceded is a wee bit too high. Overseas guys, Bernard Janssen van Rensburg is playing for London Irish. He's been tearing it up. If you don't watch the Premiership, he's got magnificent attacking numbers. Defenders beaten, run meters. He's been absolutely tearing it up. But, attack guy, solid workhorse defense guy. Maybe that's decent. I don't know. You guys let me know. There's Ward and Marius Lowe and a bunch of other guys as well. But, I ended up going with Forster. Outside backs, also, I think you're kind of spoilt for choice. I ended up going with another Stormers man who's having an absolute season, Leolin Zas. He's 26. I didn't realize he was 26. So that's, I don't want to say getting on, but some wingers kind of peak around 26, 28, right? And then it's all downhill from there. But I don't know. 26 is by no means an old man coming from me. 26 years old. He's the leading try scorer in the URC. He's third for clean breaks. Like, he's just, again, another guy who's absolutely tearing it up. He's having a phenomenal season. Is Zas. Another winger is a Bulls guy. Is old Kurt Lee, excuse my handwriting, Aronsa. He's doing not too bad as well. I know he's flexible, can play multiple positions. Curtly Ahrens is 25 years old. He's got the most clean breaks, the second most run meters. Both these guys are proper attacking weapons. I haven't even mentioned a guy like Edwil van der Merwe, who's like, you know, Cheslin Colby Part 2, maybe the unfinished edition. He seems to be... How old is Edwil van der Merwe? I don't know, he's like just a really hard guy to bring down. There's loads of outside backs. But both those guys are pretty talented. And fullback, I did go with an overseas guy in Tyrone Green. If you haven't been watching the Premiership, he's been absolutely phenomenal. And again, I don't think he's got much of a chance of getting in the squad, because even some South African players like Warwick Galant can't even get in the squad. So Tyrone Green in the Premiership, he's 24 years old, most run meters in the Premiership, second for defenders beaten in the Premiership. He has been absolutely electric as well. Andre Esteh is another one who's been doing really well, but he is a capped player. So there you go. There is my attempt at picking a 15 of uncapped players from South Africa. It's not perfect, folks. Like I said, I admit some of these guys probably wouldn't be suitable for the current setup. Some of these guys may be not the premier guy in some positions, because as I mentioned, there's South Africans all over the world. Some of these guys may only be coming into recent form. Some guys have fallen out of favour, like Williams isn't a starter for his team recently. Things like that. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts. Who would you have if you were picking an uncapped 15? I am very curious to know who are some other guys who you think could be on the periphery. Elric Lowe maybe. I don't know. There's a bunch who could be there or thereabouts. Anyway, you guys let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.